Go ahead.
We're live. Welcome back. We're here with the Lambeau Leapers. My boy Alex. How's it going, Alex?
It's going good. Draft is coming up. I'm getting excited. I know every NFL fan is waiting, but we're getting closer to that weak point now, and I'm excited. I'm just really looking forward to finding out if the Packers are going to take another quarterback.
Yeah, and we had a little bit of a scare during the week. I know it's fake. I know it's false. I know it didn't actually happen, but there are some Jordan Love to New England rumors. Like I got caught off guard. I was just getting into class. I'm like, wait, J Love, number 15. What's going on?
Yeah.
Hey, that was weird. You gotta love this draft this time of the year because you have all these funky folks pretending that they know things, pretending that they don't know things. You have all the Twitter experts that say Mac Jones is going number 3, stuff like that. So
we'll see
it's
what
a
happens.
wild time. Yeah, it's a wild time. So with that being said, we're gonna make it even more wild. We got another mock draft today. Usually we trade up, usually we trade down, but today we're going right at the prospects that are going to be available at number 29. No trade up, no trade down. We're going straight through like the Bengals did last year. We don't care about your pesky draft picks the rest of the NFL. We own these. I guess I'm not a Packers fan, but for the sake of this, we earned the 29th pick. We earned the 29th pick in every round besides the pesky Patriots because they got one of their picks taken. But you get the point. We're going to jump right into this with the Packers at a normal speed, 7 rounds. Let me click off this ad. All right.
So we've got 10 picks here, 3 of them being compensatory selections, and then of course the other 7 from that, like you said, that 29th spot in each round. So that's what Green Bay is going to be looking at, and they're going to see. It's basically when you're going to stick and pick. It's basically if you can get a good player fall to you, you just got to take the best player available. So that's the situation Green Bay will be in if their plan is to stick with where they're at.
Absolutely.
So now Green Bay. So we're declining all trade offers here.
Rams, no. I don't know why the Rams would do
available. There's a lot of good players available. I'm looking right now. Jamin Davis is a guy I know they definitely would like. Probably more of a second round option for them, but he will probably. I wouldn't be surprised if he sneaks into the first round. So that's what I think. I think he could be a first round option for some other teams. Might not be there when Green Bay picks. His athleticism exciting. I think Samuel Cosmi, he's got a great relative athletic score that is, I think it's either 9.99 or 10 on the dot, which is, of course, in the highest percentile. So if they're looking to go tackle, he could be an option. Creed Humphrey, interior O-lineman, probably not a first-round prospect for Green Bay, but definitely in the mix in the later round. In that second round, probably. Tevin Jenkins, great tackle. Caleb Farley, he's the super talented corner. Nobody expects him to really drop into the second round, and this could be a good spot if they were to look at in that position. I think and then of course Trevon Moehrig there is a guy I really like because he's so versatile. So look at all those top 6 players are guys that excite you. Give me some of your thoughts on who you'd take in this position.
All right. Well, if the Ravens had the 27th pick, I would probably take Tevin Jenkins. Absolutely. I know the Packers might not lean off offensive line, although they did lose Corey Linsley and Bulaga was gone 2 years ago. And so Rick Wagner, was he the right tackle?
Yep.
I'm totally blanking. Yeah. So Packers need some O-line depth, but they drafted some last year. So I feel like there's a chance they overlook Cosmi, Humphrey, and Jenkins. And you might just go for the blue chipper and Farley. Moehrig as well. I have him in the top 25 of my board. I also want to look at could be maybe a second round guy. Spencer Brown out of Northern Iowa. He had a 10.0 relative athletic score, which just like blew everybody out. I know Cosmi was, I think, 9.99 like you said, or 9.9 like you said. But Spencer Brown, maybe not at 29, but
you're right.
With the next pick, we're looking at him, I think. I haven't been a big fan of Jamin Davis. Like he was maybe linebacker 6, linebacker 7 when I did my show with Justin the other day. But in this spot, I'm looking at Caleb Farley, and if he falls to 29, he's 100% the best player available. The only issue is the injury. Or I guess he and Jalen Phillips are the best players available, but injury concerns there.
The other one, yeah.
I think I would be sprinting the card in with Caleb Farley's name written on it.
Yeah, I agree with you, and there's so many good players available here, which is the exciting thing. You hope that this is the kind of situation Green Bay is in come next Thursday. I think Jalen Phillips is a serious possibility, especially if he were to fall to this point. But I definitely agree with you that, to me, it's coming down here because look at you see those tackles that are still available. I think there's going to be some depth there when they go to that second pick. And you talk about a guy like Caleb Farley, who to me, Green Bay can afford to pick him, and even if he's not going to be ready for the start of the season, even if, whatever the case is with his injuries, they have Kevin King still. They still have Shannon Sullivan. Not great players, but they can hold down the fort until Caleb Farley comes back into the fold. And when that happens, then they can kind of prepare for him to take some reps. So it was between for me, it was between him and Trevon, the safety. So I'm going to go with Caleb Farley. Take the best player available in Green Bay situation. They can afford to do it.
Wow. Washington trades up for Jamin Davis.
There you go. Yeah, that's a player that is probably going to go in the first round. He's rising up boards, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't really bought into the hype, I would say. I have Cameron McGrone out of Michigan over Jamin Davis. So, like, seeing McGrone, who's probably going to be like a third-round guy, and then Davis is top 50 almost everywhere you look. It's like, what the heck is going on here?
I think Davis's athleticism and those traits that aren't really, you don't see those on the field much because it doesn't show up in his play. But just the measurables, the intangibles, he's got a lot of that. He's super athletic, and I think that's where teams like Green Bay, who prefer that athleticism in the middle, bigger body type guys that can also play a little bit in coverage, which he can. I think that's a pretty good fit. So he could definitely be an option if they're looking to go linebacker here.
Absolutely.
So Javon Holland probably would have been my pick if he was still available at 62. That's a guy they really like. So I think he'd definitely be an option.
I have him going as high as 35 to Atlanta.
Yeah.
35. I have him going way high because I think he's a great fit in the not Dan Quinn, but the Atlanta defense moving forward. And I'm glad I mentioned Spencer Brown. I'd really hate if he ended up in Cleveland because, one, they have lots of great tackle depth anyways, two, rivalry. But he would have been a great pick for Green Bay. But we do have some talented players. You have some Milton Williams, who is a beast on the interior down for the Bulldogs there in Louisiana Tech.
I think that's, to me, I'm looking at this list. Rondale Moore pops off the board a little bit just because he is a guy that could go very early. In that first round, definitely second round. And the fact that he's still here is definitely interesting. Doesn't fit their mold for the type of receiver they're usually looking for. But second round, this is what they did with Randall Cobb so many years ago. He's not a guy that usually fits what they like. But it is the second round. And the fact that a type of player like him is still available at this point, that would certainly be an option. Diami Brown, we've talked about on this show before. Really fun player. He'd be a good fit. And the other one I'm looking at, really, Elijah Molden at that corner spot, who could also play a little bit of safety, is an option, certainly. And then the other one for me would probably be Joe Tryon. And I think a lot of it has to do with his athleticism. He's young. He can. Green Bay likes to pick those guys that they're going to get at a young age. And then when they want to sign those second contracts, they're not 26 or 27. They're closer to that 25 range. Nick Bolton's still available. That's surprising.
Yeah, I like Bolton a lot.
There's a lot of good players. Available. I think Tryon, if I'm going off what I think they'll do, they might go with a guy like Tryon, just because he has those athletic traits, and they could use another edge rusher. There's a little bit of uncertainty with the Smith brothers after this season. I could see them totally going edge here. I think the receivers will be there. I think there's going to be some good receivers in that third round that they can go and target. So let's go with the edge rusher, Joe Tryon here, even though Nick Bolton would be a fun fit, especially this late. But I do think Tryon is probably, if I'm guessing what they would do, I would go with Joe Tryon here.
Yeah, I like Tryon a lot. I know he's gotten some first-round buzz a little bit here and there. I don't know about first round. I'd be more comfortable taking him in the second round, early third. But I think that's solid value here because there are some people that are going to have him as a first-round pick, a top 35, top 40 player. And when I think Green Bay is one of those. when you can get him at the end of the second round, that's great value for Green Bay. All right, no interdivision trades and no trading with the team that beat you in the NFC title game.
Yep. Okay, so now we've got a corner.
Milton Williams still available.
Yeah, wow. He's probably the D-line class. Everybody talks about how it's very weak in a lot of people's opinions. He's one of the good players that you might look at. So he's certainly an option. Dylan Moses, the linebacker there. Brady Christensen, good tackle, BYU. So, there's options here. Let's take a look at the receivers. I would definitely like to see the receivers that are still on the board. Dwayne Eskridge is a guy that I've been hearing that they're interested in. Smith Marset also is a guy that I've heard that they're looking at. So this is probably the range for them. If they were going to grab a receiver, that third round, both of these guys are certainly options, I think. It's not about the deep stuff usually for Green Bay. It's kind of fitting the mold that they look at. Dwayne Eskridge, same thing. I think both of these guys are in play. So you really, you go with the best player available. I think Eskridge is probably edges out Smith Marset here, and I think they could use a receiver at this point. You add another guy to the mix. No receivers under contract after this season. You add Eskridge, and you kind of fill a void there for both now and the future.
All right. Dwayne Eskridge. Love his film. I picked him in one of my Ravens mocks. Works his tail off, and say like Baltimore is a team that really needs like good run blocking wide receivers. Eskridge can block too. I know he's pretty.
And that's why they like him.
But yeah, and I would have liked him in Baltimore there, other than Ellerson Smith. But this is a Packers mock, not a Ravens mock.
Right. Yeah. I'm telling you, that's one of the reasons. His blocking, and he can also, he's got some deep threat ability to him, as opposed to Smith Marset, who's more of that intermediate type receiver. I definitely think Eskridge is a guy that, because he can block and because he's also a good receiver, Green Bay's all over the blockers, and that's a guy that can. They're looking for guys to plug in and be able to play, right. and I think Eskridge is a guy that, because he's a good blocker and because he can also, he can run deep and he can do a lot of those things, I think he'd be a good fit. I wouldn't be mad if they took another receiver here. We've talked about before how Green Bay is that team that on day 3, they'll always, not always, but on a lot of occasions, they'll grab 3 players at the same position to really rejuvenate the depth at a spot. Right. That could be receiver, that could be, corner, that could be D tackle. And to me, I think D tackle is probably the spot where they can go and do that. And now we're sitting here, and this is the 4th round, right?
Yes.
So this is where you start on day 3. And a guy, yep, there he is. Osa Odigizua is a guy that I think you start him off as the guy that if they were to get 3 guys in the last 4 rounds, that's a good pick right there.
All right, yeah, I love Odigizua.
Right away. Yeah.
I had him as a top 5 interior guy on my board right ahead of Milton Williams. I've compared him to Aaron Donald. I know he's kind of like I get it. That's the stereotype. That's what Ed Oliver was compared to. I understand. But the body type works, and I think the pass rushing upside, if he's 2% of Aaron Donald, Green Bay is getting a very, very good player.
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy that's very explosive. The size is, that's the question mark really, but I think he's a good player. I think he's got a lot of skill on the football field. So if he's there in round 4, that's a guy who could go in round 3. If he's there in round 4, Green Bay might certainly make that move. And DT is, we're looking here now. Darius Stills, you got there. Marvin Wilson. So there's a good DT depth right here. Let me see. Jonathan Marshall is a good player. I think Darius Stills might be the guy that they'd look at here. What do you think?
Yeah, we can roll with Stills. I believe we took Marshall in the last one, or maybe both of them, because I feel like he's always in my Ravens mocks, and I feel like I've kind of gotten you to like Marshall a little bit. Maybe it was Bobby Brown from Texas A&M.
I think it was Bobby Brown, yeah.
Okay.
So Marshall, Marshall's a good player too. I mean, they're at this point when it's like these rankings 151 and then Stills is 179. I mean, this is just a website's rankings. It's all about the player and the style of play.
Right. Yeah, this is true with any position. There's like style fits. There's like really the only position that I think you can get like a clear cut like top 10 is really quarterback. every other position is very much scheme-based. I'm not saying quarterback's not scheme-based, but quarterback can be like the start of a scheme, like the Ravens drafting Lamar Jackson, the Cardinals drafting Kyler Murray, the 49ers potentially drafting Fields or Lance. Like that changes what your scheme is offensively. The rest of the offense and almost every defensive player, they need to be scheme fits to some degree, or you need to be the Bill Belichick and figure out you're going to play this role in the defense, right? You're going to play this role in the offense. And at this point, you could take, I don't know, Roy Lopez, shout out Bear Down Go Cats, shout out Arizona. You could take Roy Lopez here, and if you think he's a perfect fit and he's going to play well, you can take him. And I don't think people are going to really care, right? Yeah. So especially when you get out of the top 10, 15, 20, even top out of the first round, it becomes more of a scheme fit and value. So you need to see if, hey, this guy is number 31 on our board and we can get him in the third round. That's perfect. Or this guy's a perfect scheme fit. We can get him in the fifth round. Let's do it. Even if maybe the talent isn't, even if Quinton Bohanna out of Kentucky isn't as good of a player as Jonathan Marshall is, if he's a better fit, Green Bay can take him here, and I don't think people would complain.
Yeah. I mean, let's just go with Jonathan Marshall. I think his size is a little bit better compared to Stills, who, Green Bay just took a player with not great size. So I think adding a player with a little bit more size and a little bit, maybe not as much athleticism, but he's still got that size they love at those interior spots. I think that'd be, that's probably the move you make. And, it's certainly a position where they could use more depth and size.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can never have too many interior guys. It's the Dave Gettleman thing that you draft a bunch of like these hulking defensive tackles. And hey, the Giants had a really strong defense this year, and it overachieved just about anyone's idea of how they were going to play. And a lot of that's because you have Dalvin Tomlinson, Leonard Williams, and former first-round pick. Oh my goodness, the guy out of Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson.
Yeah.
If you have a sturdy interior, you can't run on them, and sometimes you get a good pass rushing defensive tackle, like an Aaron Donald, or right. I guess Leonard Williams is just a bigger bodied edge more than a D tackle, but you get the point. You get these physical guys, and that completely shuts down half of a team's game. And yeah, we're in a passing league, and most teams are going to throw the ball 60% of the time. And even Baltimore is the most pass-averse team in the league, and they throw the ball 42% of the time. They run the ball only 42% of the time still. So you're just shutting down a third of the game, half of the game for these teams. And we saw at Tennessee versus Green Bay that Green Bay was able to stifle Derrick Henry, and Tennessee was like, I don't know, we're going to just lose by 40 today. So,
yeah,
stopping the run on the interior, critical thing that these teams can do. And I think Green Bay, with these last two picks, is showing a commitment to do that.
Yeah, taking a step in the right direction, right?
Absolutely.
So let's go to the board, the regular all board now. And because we've got some picks. Yeah, we've got some picks to work with on the D tackle spot. We'll get another one. So we've got an edge. We've got a corner. Have we gotten a receiver?
Yes.
Yep, we've gotten a receiver. So now we've got some of those needs. The one thing we haven't gotten is a tackle, and Robert Haynesey is sitting there. And I think he's a guy that I think he'd be in terms of athleticism, he's got that to fit Green Bay's mold. He could play tackle, and he can also swing inside. I think he'd be what they're looking for from a versatility standpoint from Notre Dame, and also a guy that they can. I think they'd use him as a tackle, but the versatility is so key for Green Bay on the offensive line. So I think he'd be a good pick here to kind of add some depth to the tackle spot.
Absolutely. At the very least, you could play him at guard for a year and then kick him out to right tackle if you want to, or if, heaven forbid, David Bakhtiari doesn't stay healthy, kick him out to left tackle, although I'm sure Packers fans are tired of hearing about Bakhtiari being injured.
Yeah, I think that's definitely key to have guys that can you're flexible. Elton Jenkins is a perfect example. He can play all five on the line, has played all five on the line for Green Bay. So I
really
think
good at all five.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's impressive, and it's so important and crucial to what Green Bay can do. Because they could put him at left tackle and really not miss a beat. Like, that's how good he is, and that's how versatile he is.
Absolutely.
So let's see. I mean, we talk about receiver. You could certainly add another player there. Josh Palmer looking very, very good from Tennessee. The thing is, though, I don't know if he's super agile, and Green Bay is pretty big on the agility. Yep, minimal quick. Yep, there it is. Yeah, I don't know if that would be a guy that they'd even have on their board.
Right.
So, I'm not exactly sure. Looking at the guys on the board, I know some, not all of these guys. At this point, I think we're in round 6. Like, it's just you're trying to get some depth.
Right.
You're trying to add guys. It's hard to really tell. Best player on the board, I would usually say we take here, but I don't want to take a quarterback, honestly. So let's look at a running back potentially. Let's look at the running back room, because there's some guys that are still available. Puka Williams is probably like a 7th round type pick. I don't know a ton of these guys. I know Larry Roundtree, good player. What are you thinking in terms of a running back here? Because they could use a third guy.
Really like Kylan Hill. He was on my college fantasy team like 3 years ago, but the man just produced over in Starkville. A stellar guy, and a lot of his yards he created himself. They didn't have the greatest. They don't have an Alabama line. They don't have a Larry Tunsil Ole Miss line. So he's creating a lot of yards himself. So yeah, the open field stuff is an issue, but bursts through the hole, quick-footed, chooses his spots, gets through small openings. He is someone that if you block for a yard, he can get 3. If you block for 2 yards, he can get 4. Might not turn it into 40 like some of the, like, say, Najee Harris, but, he can produce for you. So
great.
He should be a solid player moving forward. Yeah. Kylan Hill at Mississippi State.
That's a good pick. I mean, to get a running back who can do a lot of good things, especially creating his own yardage. That's what Aaron Jones does best. He creates his own yards. I think that to get another guy like that could help, in the event of an injury, kind of add, because we talk about the thunder and lightning with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. You could you could continue to add some of that lightning with the guy behind Aaron Jones that has a similar skill set. And from what we're reading there, it sounds like he could potentially be that kind of player.
Yeah, I think with Hill, you're not going to get like Chris Johnson. It's hard to get Chris Johnson or even like a JaMychal Hasty over in San Francisco, just a wicked fast guy. But he can fill his role. He can be like a 3-down back light. Like if you have to use him on 1st, 2nd, 3rd down, like say if Aaron Jones got injured and AJ Dillon got injured, he can fill in. He's not going to be Saquon Barkley, but he can, fill in. He can catch passes out of the backfield. And he can be a 4 yards, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, 4 yards in a cloud of dust kind of back at times. So, versatile player, and that's what you need at the end of the 5th round, early in the 6th round.
Yep. So we're sitting here now. I think this is our 6th round pick. Add another edge rusher here. Why not? I mean, they could certainly use another guy there. William Bradley King. Let's take a look at his little write-up. See, the lax bulk thing is a lot of you knock a lot of guys for that, but really it's not all about bulk. It's about, what can you do in the face of a block? Do you have the speed to get past the guy? It's not all just about quick off the snap. Right. Exactly. Like you get a guy that can, Green Bay loves their athletic guys. And from what I'm reading here, it looks like he's got certainly some athleticism, some quickness, agility. So you go with a guy like that, and especially, the Green Bay is pretty confident in getting guys that don't have great stuff on the field, maybe not great production, but the athletic traits that can kind of put a guy in a position where that when he gets to the NFL and Green Bay's coaching gets their hands on him, they feel like they can make a bad player or even a decent player into a good NFL player. So that's the confidence that they have.
All right, let's roll it. William Bradley King, edge out of Baylor. And right back on the clock at 2:20. Who are we looking at?
Cornell Powell, Clemson, receiver. Oh, Simi Fehoko from Stanford. Those 2 receivers are interesting to me. Certainly could add another receiver. I wouldn't mind either of those 2. I think Fehoko is probably the pick, just because I feel like I've heard that they could be interested in him. They might have met with him potentially as like an option of the later rounds. Green Bay always likes to meet with their day 3 options. That's how Ted Thompson did it. Brian Gutekunst continues to do that, especially because they like to meet with those guys that could be undrafted and might be there on day 3. They like to make sure that they can get their guys and get real good info on them. So let's go with Fehoko from Stanford as another receiver, adding to the depth and now another contract on the books at that position for 2022.
Absolutely. I want to note Tamari and Terry. People down in Tallahassee called him Scary Terry. Just deep vertical guy. He's a guy that if you want to replace MVS, you want to replace Equinemius St. Brown, you want to replace Alan Lazard to some degree, you can go get Tamari and Terry, 6'4", 220, speed demon. He's a guy that his average depth target was like 20, 25 yards for most of his time at FSU.
All right.
Take quarterback?
Why not? Let's do it.
Anyone that is enticing you besides Shane Buechele?
Not really. I don't want to take another punter. We've been there, done that. I mean, look, if there's a quarterback that they prioritized as like an undrafted free agent guy that they'd like, that's usually what 7th round picks are. You have this list of undrafted free agents that you're going to target, and there's a guy that sticks out to you, and that's the guy you draft, as opposed to trying to sign him. You don't want to let the undrafted kid get away, so you draft him basically. And if they like the quarterback, why not take a quarterback? They need a third guy now. They don't have one. And let's say in a year from now, their only quarterback after they moved on from, let's say they traded Jordan Love a year from now. They don't want their only backup quarterback to be an undrafted kid from 2021 who's coming into his second year. Maybe they draft a guy, and I wouldn't be opposed to that just because, it's going to be a situation where I don't know how long Jordan Love is going to be able to sit, and I don't anticipate Rodgers slowing down. So my expectation is that Jordan Love will eventually be traded. If not, of course, Aaron Rodgers could possibly be traded, but I just don't see them making that move. So either way, one quarterback is going to be there, and they're going to need a backup. And I don't think an undrafted kid is going to be good enough to be able to hold down the fort as the backup. So for me, I'm going with a quarterback, and I'm not mad at that pick. I don't think fans should be upset about the idea that they pick a quarterback, maybe even in round 4, 5, 6. I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't, because they need that third quarterback. So let's go with Shane Buechele here from SMU. Just draft a kid that you might go undrafted, but he's just a quarterback that you get to kind of fill that void. I like this draft a lot.
Yeah, got Farley, Tryon, Eskridge, Odigizua, Marshall, Haynesey, Hill, Bradley King, Fehoko, and Shane Buechele.
I like that draft. That's a lot of good, talented players that can help the team right away. I think the one that stands out most is of course, Caleb Farley. But when you're looking in the middle of the draft, I think Robert Haynesey could come in and have an impact right away, especially with his versatility. Certainly a guy that could come in, you could potentially plug in and start day one at a tackle spot or a guard spot because, in the event that David Bakhtiari is not able to go, he could be called upon. So exciting player there. And of course, they've added some receivers to the room. They've added D tackles, a couple of them. So now this is a situation where Green Bay probably feels a lot better about their depth at some of those need positions. So that's a good draft. Absolutely.
And of course, you get a guy, if my screen would scroll, you get a guy, and I think in Farley is top 15 player. Tryon, it's really a fit thing. I don't want him in Baltimore, for example, but if the fit's right, he can be a good player. Love Eskridge, Odigizua. I have him as a top 100 player, so that's tremendous value. And like you said, you double up on these positions. Is defensive tackle a huge need for Green Bay? No, not really. But here you grab two different players at the same position, so you can play them together. You can play them separately. Kenny Clark's still there. So if you're getting any sort of production out of Odigizua or Marshall, that's great. And the middle of the fourth round, that's a great time to take your flyers on talented players. If one of them hits, Gutekunst is a genius, right? And looking deeper into the draft, Haynesey, good player, versatile player. I have him more as a tackle, but you might play him at guard.
Right, exactly.
Hill, running back, whatever. But talented player. He can be a kind of 3-down light. If Aaron Jones gets hurt, he can fill in for Jones to some degree. And we know that running backs are fairly replaceable. And if you get a priority guy like Hill or any other running back that Green Bay feels they can prioritize, you're getting a talented third guy, like a kick return guy, punt return guy, special teams guy, and then William Bradley King, talented player out of Baylor, get some pop off the edge. Fehoko, good player to Stanford, a little bit of weird production, but it's Stanford. It's one of the most pro style offenses, so you're not going to have the gaudy numbers like Shane Buechele had at SMU and previously Texas.
Right. And look, let's do another draft. We'll do 5 rounds this time and do a little bit shorter. That way we can focus on some of those upper tier players. But yeah, I think that was a good draft. You're trying to, at the same time as filling needs, you're going to also want to look to add depth for the future. And that, of course, Green Bay is all about the future. They prioritize that even more than, their current team at times. So they're not a drafting for need team. They're a drafting for future need team. So that's what we'll look at here. We'll continue to kind of I'm basically looking at what Green Bay will do. Maybe not as much what they should do, but a little bit of a combination of the both.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a little ad break. We have a new thing on U Stadium. We're doing a huge. I'm talking huge. I'm talking. Some of the interns are entering 400, 500, 600 emails right now. We're doing a big mock draft giveaway on the U Stadium app. Head over to the app, click the banner on the breaking news ticker that says Mega Mock Draft. I wish our graphics department was a little bit better so I could do Mega Mock Draft as it comes up, but that's okay. And enter your email. Our interns are hard at work entering them into this huge spreadsheet. You're going to get an email, and you're going to join a NFL.com group. It's like a March Madness group, but it's the NFL draft because it's draft season, baby. And who isn't excited for that? If you're not excited for the draft, I don't know how you're living right now. You can win a new PlayStation 5 or Xbox. What is it? One Series X, S, whatever. Get a new console. Get this PS5, get that Xbox, pick up ammo for the show. That came out a few days ago. If you finish first, you get that PS5 for the Xbox. If you finish, I believe, second, pick up your first round pick jersey. Unless you're a Texans fan, then you kind of just weep, I guess. Or I guess the Rams and Seahawks don't have first round picks either, but it happens, And if you finish third, fourth, or fifth, you get a draft hat. It's like this, but drafty. So there's that. That's my first ad read. So let's get back to this mock draft, shall we? All right, Packers, normal speed, 5 rounds. Let's pop it.
All right, here we go. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. They go Justin Fields. So, that's the question. Do they go for – is it going to be 4 straight quarterbacks, or will Kyle Pitts get taken at that 4 spot? Here they go 4 quarterbacks in a row.
Sewell falls to 13.
Yeah. Greg Newsome at 14. I think he's so ultra talented that I would not be surprised to see him go very, very early. And I think 14 I just think he's a great player. And if he somehow fell to Green Bay's 29, even if they were to be able to trade up to him, I think he's one of my top prospects for Green Bay. Looking at the players available here, wow, there's some talent. There's definitely some talent here.
Absolutely.
At edge, you look at Jalen Phillips there, and you also look at Kwity Paye. I think those are 2 options for Green Bay. Tevin Jenkins at the offensive tackle spot, and of course Jason Owe is still there also. So there's edge talent. I think they might go edge. I would see in a normal situation. I would suspect them to go with Trevon Moehrig here, but I'm going to go with an edge rusher because I do expect them to. I think safety or edge is probably one of the more likely 2 spots that they could target with their first pick. Let's go with Kwity Paye. That's the most talented player on the board. Maybe not a complete, relative athletic score fit, but I think his talent overall is a fit for Green Bay, and I think him falling all the way down to 29 would be very, very shocking to them, and I think that'd be a player they'd certainly take.
Kwity Paye, he's some people's edge 1, some people's edge 2. I have Jalen Phillips over him, but incredible player at Michigan. He really popped off this year. He was a guy, it felt like week in, week out was jumping up 10 picks, jumping up 15 picks. And it's really hard to go from mid-30s to a top 20 pick, almost a guaranteed top 20 pick. And Paye's the guy that did that. he slipped back a little bit. Some of that's with the quarterback, some of that's with the wide receivers and the offensive tackle class. But very talented player, and I have a pretty clear first-round grade on him moving forward.
Yeah. So now we're looking at – I know they like Quinn Miners. I know that for a fact. And Asante Samuel was probably the player I would pick if it was me. But I think Quinn Miners is a guy they like. Would not be surprised to see him go earlier than this spot here. Let's go with Quinn Miners. I think he's rising up boards just based on some of the stuff he's doing in the pre-draft process. Right. And I think Green Bay is excited about his physicality and his intangibles, those physical traits. Asante Samuel at that corner spot is a very talented player, so I would totally go with him there. But I think, based on what I think they're probably looking to do, that's probably the guy that I see them going after. Javon Holland at 28.
Spencer Brown going to be available?
No, just got taken.
Well, the Titans corrected their Isaiah Wilson mistake.
Yeah.
I don't know why Tampa wants to trade with Green Bay. Some of these trades are like all the love in the world for Pro Football Network for having this available to us that we don't have to pay for it, especially. But some of these trades are whack. Yeah.
All right. The one guy I'm looking at here, the corner, Paulson Adebo. I think he fits the athleticism, all the stuff they're looking for. He's got the high relative athletic score. I wouldn't be shocked to see him go in round 2 if they were to take some other position besides corner in round 1. If they really liked him, they might take him round 1. But if there's better players available, they'll stick with something else. But I think considering we haven't taken a corner yet in this mock, and Green Bay's, that's certainly a need going forward. I think Adebo is probably he's got a good shot here to be the pick, and especially at this spot, I think they'd go for it. So yeah, let's go with Paulson Adebo. Tommy Tremble is a guy that I think they like too, but he's going to be kind of coveted around the league with teams like Green Bay, San Francisco. I think his skill set kind of fits what Green Bay is doing with some other guys, and they're the team that wants as many players like him as possible, and they've got a lot.
Right. He's a guy that I tried to mock to Baltimore, move around the comp area, get Tommy Tremble. He's a guy I know the Jets are looking at. Ooh, Tutu Atwell, I'll pass. But
yeah,
Tremble is an incredibly talented player. I don't know how different he is from Josiah DeGuara, because I feel both of them are like fullbacks really at the next level.
Exactly. That's the point. Green Bay loves to hoard those type of guys. I think he's kind of a similar Josiah DeGuara type player. He's getting more attention because of what Green Bay has done with players like Josiah DeGuara and what San Francisco has been able to do, the Rams, among other teams with those similar schemes. Teams are starting, this is a copycat league, and that's why Tommy Tremble is kind of rising up boards, and he could even go in the second round.
Absolutely.
So now we've taken, what have we got here? We've taken a receiver, right? Or have we not taken a receiver yet?
Okay, now my memory sucks. Okay, we've taken Adebo at 92.
We've taken the corner. We've taken an edge. We've taken the edge rusher.
Miners.
Our second round pick was what?
Miners, right?
Right. So we've taken an O lineman that can probably play a little bit of guard and center. So that covers that kind of need that they do have. Although they've got some young depth there, there's certainly a need there. You could go tackle. You could go receiver. Those are the two spots I'm thinking. Linebacker is certainly an option as well.
Our friend Odigizua.
He's still there. I'd like to avoid the players we've looked at already. Bobby Brown, we've kind of done in other mocks. I'm not sure if we go
to show Anthony Schwartz.
Anthony Schwartz. They could add another receiver here. I wouldn't be surprised.
Home run hitting speed. That's an understatement.
That usually doesn't work with Green Bay. They usually don't like players with speed. They just don't draft speedy players for some reason. The last one that they drafted that on offense was MVS. That's what they'll go. That's probably, and that was I think he was a 6th round pick. Like they're not going to go crazy with the speed guys. Not a ton of players I really like here. We could. What do you think here? Like, give me some thoughts on what Green Bay might target.
Well, we said no speed guys, so no Jalen Darden. He's loved Darden's production, a receiver and return specialist. I like Tony Fields a lot.
They might look at a guy like Darden because like the return specialist thing, they need somebody. They've struggled at that spot for so long. That's where they could look to add some speed. I know Tyler Ervin was the guy that was doing that consistently for them before he got injured. I think Darden, He does have speed, like you said, and I've kind of forgot about the fact that they do need a returner, and will probably look for one in the draft. So I think Darden could be the pick here. If he may not even play much from the scrimmage, but he could definitely do some damage for them as a return man. So I think, they won't be afraid to go with the guy that doesn't have the height at that kind of position when they're looking for somebody who can return kicks and punts. And I think Darden is that type of guy, even though he doesn't have that 6 foot, above the 6 foot range that Green Bay looks for with their receivers. So let's go with Darden. That's a good fit.
All right. He's one of the guys that, like, if Baltimore drafts, or really any team that I don't hate drafts, picking up his jersey ASAP.
Yeah.
So I like Jalen Moore a lot. I don't remember if we've taken him in a different mock. I like Moore. I like Cam Sample.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cam Sample.
Jamie Sherwood. I like him a lot. Jonathan Marshall, of course.
Let's look at Sherwood, because I think Green Bay is going to target a safety in this draft. I think early and often, potentially, to play some of that, potentially the star role that we've seen in Joe Barry's style defense of that Vic Fangio scheme, or even just so that way they can put Darnell Savage in that star role, and then they'll need somebody to play more deep safety. And let's see here with Sherwood, large explosive safety with a physical game. Terrific run defender who's aggressive and takes on bigger opponents, takes good angles to the action, attacks ball handlers, works to finish plays, athletic, length, ability in zone coverage. So this is a guy you're potentially looking at to come in and play some of that star role, while also he does have some of that zone coverage ability to play some deep safety. I think it'd be a good pick. I think it'd be a good pick here for Green Bay.
Yeah, love Sherwood. He's safety 5 on my board, actually. I just came around him like a week
142,
ago.
That's a good spot. Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful pick there. Cam Sample, 150. Nice pick there, Philly. Shakatoni, Marshall, Cade Johnson, Marvin Wilson. I remember when Marvin Wilson was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Here he is in the middle of the 5th. Mark Jefferson, Palmer, and Green Bay is back on the board. Got 2 more picks to close us out.
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna have 2 choices within the next 6 picks. Chauncey Golston is a guy at edge who I think they might be interested in. From Iowa. Let's see. Struggles getting off blocks and is more of a first step lineman. Must significantly improve his strength at the point. Green Bay's big with that. But look, yeah, he's underrated. I think he could certainly go a little bit higher than this. I do like him as a player. I don't know about you.
I haven't done a whole lot of research on some of the Golston, for example.
Of course. Yeah.
I try to look at some 5th, 6th round wide receivers as well as some secondary guys, but I think Golston would be a solid player. And the Iowa pipeline, Green Bay gets a lot of these guys from Big Ten schools plus Notre Dame. So get another talented player, add him to that edge room, help out Preston, Zadarius, and Rashawn Gary. And just add some depth. So I think Golston would be a solid pick here.
Let's go with Golston. And then Green Bay will be up here once again. And to me, people might be upset. Haynesey at that 177, good pick. To me, I'm going to look at quarterback here.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to look at quarterback. I just think that's something they'll do. I'm kind of going off what I think they'll do. To me, quarterback, for some reason, and fans are going to be mad, but for some reason, I just see it as a potential option. Definitely, if not day 3, maybe day 2, and fans will be surprised, fans will be mad. They'll criticize the front office, but when they're with the way they look to the future, if they're going to move on if they have plans to make some kind of quarterback decision within the next couple of years, they're going to want somebody that's not just an undrafted kid. To be the true backup. They're just, I don't know, Tim Boyle had years in the system and had success, and, he's been with Rodgers. If they were to, move on from Jordan Love a year from now, and what are they going to do? They could draft a rookie next year, but I think they'd like to get somebody in the system. That way, they're not going to have a rookie quarterback come in and have to maybe play if Rodgers gets hurt. So I think we just took Shane Buechele here. Felipe Franks. Let's see. Let's take a look at him again.
Ooh, sorry.
large pocket passer, great arm strength, patient, poised under the rush. They need somebody certainly who can, deal with the under pressure stuff. Let's see. What's the negatives here? Very slow moving. His head from the primary target. Accuracy is suspect. Doesn't pick up yardage with his legs. I don't think Green Bay is probably in terms of a pocket passer wouldn't be so opposed to that with Matt LaFleur because they're such a within the rhythm of the scheme offense that it's a lot of 3-step drops and hit your spot. Let's go with him. I just think, they're not afraid to pick a guy if he's got some arm talent. Obviously, we saw that with Jordan Love. Their quarterback evaluation under Brian Gutekunst has been subpar at best. They were interested in the guys that I know they liked for sure. Obviously, Drew Lock, they were potentially thinking about picking in the second round the year prior. Hasn't been great for Denver. And then the quarterback that they, of course, traded for, that they really liked in that draft. I think it was the 2018 draft, Deshaun Kaiser. Might have been the 2017 draft. I forget when he was picked, but of course they brought him in, and I forget. Yeah, it could have been 16, 17. I'm not even sure. I try to forget everything I can.
I think he was in the Mahomes Watson draft.
Yeah. I try to forget everything I can about him at this point.
Amen to that.
Yeah, their quarterback evaluation hasn't been great. They were inherited with Boyle, and they also inherited, obviously, the greatest quarterback in history, Aaron Rodgers. So then you've got they don't have much evaluating to do, and what they have done hasn't been great. So, just add a guy here. We'll see what happens. But this draft overall, fans may not love it because it's not addressing a bunch of needs. Like, you don't think edge is a need. They've just drafted 3 interior guys last year. Then you get the corner who fans, they'll probably want one in the first round, the receiver, in the mid rounds. And then, fans, of course, they've got a couple rounds after that, but fans may not love draft, but it's something they may, this might be the style of draft they go with. Grab an edge rusher because he's the best player available. And they'll probably look at draft edge early, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And these are guys that they're going to like athletically. So I think this is probably what they will do, something similar, if I had to guess.
Yeah, and you're getting Hayes a top 30 guy in my eyes. Miners is a top 50 guy. Don't love Adebo, but I understand why Green Bay might like him, and I understand why a lot of people do like him. Darden's a top 100 player, and Jamie and Sherwood is flying up my board right now.
Yeah,
so you get, I think, 4 slam dunk top 100 players, and then Paulson Adebo is a guy that I know has flashed like a first-round pick. So,
Yeah.
I think this would be a great draft for Green Bay. I definitely give it B+ when I eventually. I have the goal of doing a live show breaking down every pick in the draft. I don't know if that's going to happen. I am going to be free in a couple weeks from school, but we have a lot of exciting stuff coming on U Stadium. Of course, we have the contest that I mentioned. Again, big mock giveaway. I'll throw the graphic up again. Let me find it. There it is. I'll throw the graphic up again. We'll wrap up. Big mock draft giveaway. Make sure you click the banner on the breaking news sticker that says Mega Mock Draft. You can win an Xbox One Series X or a PS5. Second place, you get a jersey of your first-round pick. Jags fans, it's Lawrence. Jets fans, probably Zach Wilson. Texans fans, you get Starvation. Third, fourth, fifth place, you get those glorious draft hats.
Yeah.
So, Any final words?
If you're a Rams fan or a Seahawks fan, you'll get the jersey of your 4th-round pick this year. So
yeah, amen to that. Maybe they should get an option of having it be Jalen Ramsey, or is it Ramsey that they traded this? Yeah, I think it's for Ramsey. And for Seahawks, maybe Jamal Adams. I don't know. Talk to Nick and Frankie about it. I'm not controlling it, but I'm glad I'm not one of the interns manually entering emails. So. Any final words before we wrap up today?
Well, look, another mock draft. We'll talk more next week about specific players that I think Green Bay will target. We'll look at some of those athletic scores that Green Bay is super high on when they're picking players, and especially Brian Gutekunst. So we'll definitely look into. We'll discuss who we think Green Bay is going to pick on day 1, on day 2, on day 3. We'll break down a bunch of guys and really dive deep into what Green Bay could do. And that'll be the night before the draft. So that'll be a lot of fun. Come join us once again. And we'll be talking all things Packers draft. And look, exciting times, like I mentioned before. So as always, go Pack, go.
Yeah, absolutely. Go Pack, go. Gonna be happy to see my Packers socks in a couple weeks when I'm home. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Alex. Love having you on as usual. Make sure you subscribe to Lambeau Leapers on Instagram and follow U Stadium on Instagram, U Stadium on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. Spam us with some likes. We have another show coming up, and we kind of went over on this one, but that's okay. I think we have a guest on Play Like a Jet. I have to head over there in like 2 minutes. But hey, glad having you on. We will be back next Wednesday. We're going to break down what we think the Packers are going to do on draft day, look at some relative athletic scores, see the Spencer Browns of the world, who I would be if I was a Bears, Vikings, or Lions fan. You just don't want Spencer Brown or Quinn Miners. You don't want Spencer Brown ending up in Lambeau.
Right.
So with that said, again, make sure you like the stream, subscribe to the channel, and we will be back next Wednesday, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern. You were a little late today, but that's okay. Peace.